We've been following the story for some time now out of Missoula, Montana, where the city council is imposing new ordinances on their citizens despite usurping state laws that prevent municipalities from creating their own little pockets of gun regulation. Montana's Attorney General Tim Fox sought again to prevent the regulations, but his effort was denied again by Missoula County District Judge Robert Dayshaw. Now, AG Fox plans to appeal to the Montana Supreme Court. Joining me now, one of the members of that Missoula City Council that voted against those ordinances, Jesse Ramos. Councilman, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Dana. Unfortunately, every time I come on, it seems like somebody's rights are getting taken away, but it's great to be here and educate the viewers.
I know, and I appreciate your fight in Missoula to prevent that from happening. So this is something, I mean, this actually could go all the way to the Supreme Court. The Attorney General, and it's interesting that the Attorney General and this judge are so at odds over this because, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Montana's state constitution was incredibly clear and the law was incredibly clear in Montana about different municipalities creating little pockets of super restricted firearm ownership areas. I mean, so it comes down to who's right here.
Well, Dana, there's an old adage, and I'm not saying that it applies here, but a good lawyer knows the law, but a great lawyer knows the judge. And unfortunately, the judge here in Missoula is a political figure. He's up for election this year, and he knows that there's a big desire for gun control here in Missoula. So if it gets overturned, then he can blame it on the nasty conservatives on the Supreme Court. And if it doesn't, then he'll be a hero and everything will be good. So it's a fairly safe political bet for him. But you're absolutely right. There are preemption laws that absolutely, unequivocally restrict what municipalities can do as far as regulations.
Wow. And so this judge in this particular case, Dayshaw is saying that no, you know, these towns, they absolutely have the rights. If they want to say that you have to have universal background checks on everything, or if they want to restrict certain ownership of semi-automatic rifles, they can do any of these things, even though, you know, the state law says actually this needs to come down. You know, the state has supremacy here. This has to actually come down from the state.
Well, this kind of reminds me a little bit, Dana, of the sanctuary city policies, where you have cities that are taking federal money and they don't want to comply with federal laws. So the city of Missoula depends wholeheartedly on state funds for our roads, for defense, for education. And I think right now they're putting ideology above all that, because there is a good chance we do have a conservative House that maybe Missoula won't be looked at as favorably when it comes time for bills to get state funds that help our citizens of Missoula. So again, this isn't going to do anything at all. It's not going to protect anybody. You're restricting gun sales, and actually, since they really like background checks, I'd like to see them push for every single citizen of Missoula to get a concealed weapons permit, because guess what? You have to get a background check with one of those.
No, look at that. It's amazing. And hopefully, I mean, I have a particular desire to see how this case is resolved. What are people in Missoula saying? What are folks that you represent saying, Councilman?
So I've gotten a lot of calls from single moms, from just older constituents. There's constituents that live around a new homeless shelter that was just recently put in the last few years. And unfortunately, the homeless shelter can't hold everybody. So there's a lot of folks that can't enter the homeless shelter because it is a dry house. You can't be intoxicated, so they turn a lot of folks away. And then sometimes these homeless folks wander the neighborhoods. They look for things to steal. They harass folks. There was an older gentleman that is fairly disabled, and he was afraid. He couldn't protect himself. He didn't have his weapon on him with his concealed weapon permit, but nonetheless, he was still very afraid. He was walking through a park, and as we know, now you can no longer have guns in city parks.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Jesse Ramos, Councilman in Missoula. We're going to be continuing to follow the story. This could be one of the, who knows, this could be one of the cases that gets before the new Supreme Court Justice now, newly installed. Jesse, thank you so much for what you do and your time today.
Thank you, Dana.